Captain Elena Vross felt the familiar crushing weight on her shoulders as the transport shuttle descended toward Harmony's reach. The diplomatic station hung in space, like a silver wheel, spinning slowly against the backdrop of stars, and the pale moon it orbited. Elena adjusted the gravity band clamped to her right shoulder. The device hummed softly, its magnetic field wrapping around her body like invisible chains. 3 times Earth's gravity, compressed and focused onto her frame. It was protocol for all human, military personnel in mixed-species environments. Wear the band. Carry the weight. Make the others comfortable. Approaching Docking Bay 7, the pilot announced. He was human too, his own gravity band visible on his left shoulder. Welcome to the circus, Captain. Elena managed a tight smile. The summit had been brewing for months. 4 major species of the Galactic Union gathering to discuss resource rights, territory disputes, and the future of expansion into newly discovered sectors and humanity. Barely 50 years into Union membership, caught in the middle of it all, the shuttle docked with a metallic clang. Elena stood slowly, her movements careful and measured under the artificial weight. Every motion required calculation, every step deliberate. She had trained for years under compression, sometimes as high as 5 times Earth gravity, until moving under 3 felt almost natural. Almost the docking bay stretched before her as the airlock hissed open. Aliens of a dozen species moved through the space. Insectoid threne clicked across the floor on multiple legs. Aquatic salvage glided in hover tanks filled with their native liquid. Crystalline Vorn refracted light as they walked, their bodies chiming softly. Avian Kashari swooped overhead, their wings catching artificial currents. All of them evolved on worlds with a fraction of Earth's gravity. All of them able to move freely, while Elena carried 3 times her body weight with every breath. Commander Chagall waited at the security checkpoint. The Kashari's feathers were a deep blue, her eyes sharp and intelligent. Captain Vross, she said, her translator rendering the bird-like chirps into clear English. You're assigned to diplomatic security. Section 3, standard protocols apply. Understood, Commander, Elena replied. She didn't salute. The motion would have been too slow, too obvious under compression. Chagall's head tilted. The Threne delegation arrived early. They've requested additional security for their quarters, unusual. But we've accommodated them. Something in the commander's tone made Elena pause. Unusual how? They're bringing more staff than registered, Chagall said. But Ambassador ZXTAR claims it's for cultural reasons. I don't want to create an incident over paperwork. Elena filed that information away. In her experience, unusual usually meant trouble, but she was new here. The human who'd been assigned to this prestigious post, more for diversity optics than respect for her skills. She knew how they saw her. Slow, heavy, gravity-bound. Next few hours passed in briefings and security sweeps. Elena walked the corridors of Harmony's reach, her boots ringing against the deck plating that groaned slightly under her compressed weight. The station was beautiful, designed for species that moved like dancers while she lumbered. Like a deep-sea creature, the main summit hall was a marvel of engineering. A massive circular chamber with tiered seating for hundreds of delegates. Holographic displays floated in the center, ready to show star charts and resource data. Elena checked sight lines, escape routes, structural integrity, all while her gravity band hummed its constant reminder of restriction. You're the human, yes? A voice burbled from behind her. Elena turned to see a salvage in a smaller hover tank. The alien's tentacles waved in greeting. I am Captain Elena Vross. Kilmore, the salvage responded. I'm a junior science attaché. I've read about Earth. Your gravity must be incredible. 1 standard G, Elena said. Most species find it crushing, but you evolved there. Kilmore's translator conveyed enthusiasm. Your bones, your muscles, your entire physiology adapted to that pressure. And now you wear that band. Doesn't it hurt? Elena glanced at the device on her shoulder. You get used to it. It's required for humans in Union spaces. We're too strong otherwise. Too fast for our own gravity levels. The bands level the playing field. Level? Kilmora's tentacles curled. It seems more like you're handicapping yourselves. Before Elena could respond, a commotion erupted near the main entrance. A group of 3 delegates had arrived, their chitinous bodies clicking together as they moved in formation. Ambassador ZX stood at their center, his compound eyes reflecting light in rainbow patterns. The human security, ZX's translator hissed. How appropriate that gravity-bound primitives should guard those who soar. Elena kept her expression neutral. She'd heard worse. Ambassador, welcome to Harmony's Reach. Zekthar's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. I'm sure you'll do your best. Captain, limited as you are. The 3 delegation moved past, and Elena watched them go. Something felt wrong. The way they moved too synchronized, too military, and there were definitely more of them than the manifest listed. He's unpleasant, Kilmora observed. He's scared, Elena corrected. They all are. Humans are new. Unknown. We're the species that came from a world that would crush most of them. So they make us wear the bands. Make us slow down. Make us manageable. Is it true you can break through deck plating without the band? Elena smiled slightly. I've never tried, and I won't. We follow the rules. Prove we can cooperate. That's how we earn our place. That evening, Elena ran her security protocols from her quarters. The computer systems showed everything normal, but her instincts screamed otherwise. She began monitoring the 3 delegations' movements, tracking their communications. Most of it was encrypted, unusual for a diplomatic mission, but not illegal, except one data stream that pinned her attention. Coordinates for the main summit hall, marked with tomorrow's timestamp for the opening ceremony. Elena tried to decrypt it, but the code was beyond her clearance. She needed to report this, but to whom? Commander Schkal had already dismissed her concerns, and Elena was the new human, the one who everyone expected to overreact, to see threats where none existed. The summit's opening ceremony happened at dawn cycle time. Elena took her position near the main stage as delegates filed in, species from across the Union. Hundreds of them, gathering to discuss the future. Ambassador Zexstar took the podium. His speech was polite at first, discussing cooperation and unity. Then his tone shifted. But we must address the concern that weighs on many minds. Zexstar said, humanity, a species so dense, so gravity-bound, they require artificial restriction to exist among us. Are they truly Union material? Or are they primitives playing at civilization? Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some species nodded agreement. Others shifted uncomfortably. I propose a motion, Zexstar continued, to reclassify humanity as probationary members, with additional restrictions on their movement, their military, their expansion, until they prove they can exist without being a danger to lighter species. Elena's hand tightened on her sidearm. Not a danger, just different, just stronger. And now they wanted more chains, more weight, more restrictions. The vote was called, to Alana's horror. It wasn't immediately rejected. Species after species voted in favor, citing concerns about human strength, human aggression, human unpredictability. Commander Sahalkal voted against it, but her voice was one among many as the delegates filed out for recess. Elena knew she had to act. Something was wrong. Something beyond politics, the encrypted message, the extra threat. The timing of this inflammatory speech, she caught Kilmora in the corridor. I need your help, Elena said quietly. Something's happening, and no one will listen to me. The Salvicious tentacles waved uncertainty. What kind of something? The kind that ends with people dying, Elena said. and humans getting blamed for it. Kilmora hesitated only a moment. Tell me what you need. Kilmora's quarters were smaller than Elena expected. The hover tank taking up most of the space. The salvage had set up multiple data screens, all of them displaying code and communication logs. I pulled what I could from the station's main network. Kilmora explained. Tentacles dancing across holographic controls. You were right about the Threen. There are 17 delegates registered, but I've tracked 23 distinct biosignatures in their section. Elena leaned closer, the weight on her shoulders making the movement slow and deliberate. 6 extra bodies. Are they guards? The manifests say no weapons, no military personnel, Kilmora said. But look at this. The screen shifted to show an encrypted data stream. This has been bouncing between the Threen quarters and 2 other delegations, Vorn and a splinter group of Keshari. A coalition, Elena muttered. But for what? They worked through the night. Elena's training in military intelligence coming back to her. She'd spent 5 years in Earth's Strategic Defense Force before transferring to diplomatic security. 5 years learning to read patterns, to see threats before they materialized under compression. Even thinking felt heavier. Her brain worked overtime just to maintain focus against the artificial gravity dragging at her. But she'd learned to push through that too, to function when others would have collapsed. I can't crack the encryption, Kilmora admitted. It's military grade, way beyond what diplomats should have. Elena pulled up her own interface, fingers moving across the holographic keyboard with practiced precision. Let me try something. She accessed a backdoor protocol from her SDC days, something that technically violated a dozen Union regulations. The encryption broke apart like glass, and the contents made Elena's blood run cold. Coordinates. Main Summit Hall. Sublevel Foundation timestamp. Closing ceremony. Tomorrow 14 o'clock, station time device status. Armed and calibrated target. Complete structure collapse authorization. The unshackled, Elena whispered. I've heard rumors, radical faction that wants humanity expelled from the Union. Or worse, Kilmora said. Elena, if they collapse the main hall during closing ceremony, every major delegate dies, including the human ambassadors, and humanity gets blamed. Elena finished. We're the newest members, the ones everyone fears. Evidence gets planted, witnesses come forward, and suddenly Earth is responsible for the greatest massacre in Union history. Kilmora's tentacles trembled. We have to tell Commander Sakal. She won't believe us, Elena said. I'm already on thin ice for questioning the Threen, and you're a junior attaché. They'll say we're paranoid, or making it up for attention. Then what do we do? Elena straightened, feeling the gravity band pull at her. We get proof, hard evidence they can't ignore. I need to get into the Threen quarters. The memory surfaced unbidden. Training facility on Luna. 5 years ago, Elena had been 22. Newly recruited to the SDC's Special Operations Program. The instructor was a grizzled veteran named Chun, who'd lost his left arm in the First Contact War. You think the band is a punishment, Chun had said, standing in front of 20 recruits. You think it's the Union making us weak. Wrong. The band is training. He'd activated his own gravity band to 5 times compression. The device hummed louder, and Elena watched as Chun dropped slightly, his knees absorbing the increased weight. We train under 5G, Chen continued. We learn to move, to think, to fight when every motion is agony. And when that band comes off? He'd smiled. When that band comes off, we're faster than anything in the known galaxy, stronger, tougher, more enduring. Chun had removed his band. The motion was smooth, practiced, and then he'd moved. Elena barely saw him cross the training floor, barely registered the speed before he was back in position. The band isn't a chain, Chun said. It's a forge. It makes us into what we need to be. Elena shook off the memory. She stood from Kilmora's workstation, checking her chronometer. 2 o'clock station time. The Threen would be in rest cycle. Stay here, Elena ordered. If I'm not back in 2 hours, take everything we found to Commander Shkall. Elena, you can't go alone. I'm trained for this, Elena said, and I'm expendable. You're not. She moved through Harmony's reach like a ghost, using security codes and patrol schedules to avoid detection. The station was quieter at night. Most species following circadian rhythms similar to Earth's. 3/4 were in Section 12, a secured area requiring diplomatic clearance. Elena bypassed the lock using her security override, slipping inside before the alarm could trigger. The corridors here were darker, the lighting adjusted for insectoid vision. Elena moved carefully, each footstep measured against the crushing weight of her gravity band under 3 times compression. Even breathing was work. She found a data terminal in an empty conference room. Her fingers flew across the interface, downloading files to her personal storage device, communication logs, financial transfers, equipment manifests. Wow, a voice chittered behind her. The human security officer. So far from her post, Elena turned slowly. Ambassador Zexthor stood in the doorway, flanked by 2 large Threen guards. Their mandibles clicked rhythmically, a sound Elena recognized as aggression. Ambassador, Elena said calmly, I was conducting a routine security sweep in our private quarters. At night? Zexthor's compound eyes glittered. I think not. I think you've been spying. Human. Such aggressive behavior from such a primitive species. The guards moved forward. Elena calculated distances, trajectories under compression. She couldn't match their speed. She'd have to be smarter. I found your communications, Elena said. I know about the device in the summit hall. I know about the unshackled. Zexthor went very still. You know nothing, and now you've given me the perfect excuse. A human breaking into diplomatic quarters, stealing classified information, clearly working for some Earth-based terrorist cell. No one will believe that. They'll want to believe it. Zexthor hissed. They already fear you. This just confirms their suspicions. Guards, detain her. Carefully. We need her intact for questioning. The guards rushed forward. Elena moved, but under 3 times gravity, she was too slow. A chitinous limb caught her shoulder, spinning her around. Another struck her midsection, driving the air from her lungs. She went down hard, the impact rattling through her compressed body. Her data device skittered across the floors. Thar picked it up with one delicate leg. All your evidence gone. And you, my dear captain, are about to become the most wanted criminal in the Galactic Union. Elena struggled to her feet, but the guards held her down. She tried to activate her communicator, but Zexthor crushed it under his weight. Take her to holding cell 3, Zexthor ordered, and activate the signal. It's time to accelerate our schedule. The device goes off in 6 hours. During the morning session, instead of closing ceremony, we'll blame the humans' rescue attempt for triggering it early. They dragged Elena through the corridors. She fought, but under compression, her strength meant nothing. They threw her into a holding cell. Magnetic locks sealing with a hiss. Elena slammed her fists against the door, but it didn't budge. She was trapped, her evidence gone, and in 6 hours, hundreds of delegates would die unless she found a way out, and fast. She examined the cell. 3 meters by 3 meters. Reinforced walls, energy barrier on the door. Her gravity band hummed on her shoulder, a constant reminder of restriction. Elena closed her eyes, thinking the band was locked with magnetic codes, designed to prevent removal except by authorized personnel. But she'd learned those codes in training, memorized them for emergencies. Her fingers found the release panel on the band. She hesitated. Removing it here now would trigger alarms throughout the station. Security would know immediately, but what choice did she have? Elena entered the code sequence. The band beeped once. To UIC, then the locks disengaged. She left it on for now, conserving her strength, but knowing she could remove it gave her hope. Cell doors suddenly opened. Commander Shkal stood there, her blue feathers ruffled. Captain Vross, you're under arrest for espionage, breaking diplomatic protocol, and suspected terrorism. Commander, listen to me. No. Shkal cut her off. I defended you. Captain, I vouch for humanity's place in Union security, and this is how you repay that trust. Behind Shkal, Elena saw station security. 4 Kashari guards with weapons drawn. She was out of time. Out of options. The Threen are planning an attack. Elena said desperately. 6 hours from now, the main summit hall. Enough. Shell's voice was sharp. The Threen have provided evidence of your espionage. Communications between you and an Earth-based radical group. That's fabricated. Take her to maximum security detention, Shkal ordered. And someone find that Salvish Science attaché. Kill Mora. She's been conspiring with the human. Elena's heart sank. They'd gotten to kill Mora too, which meant her friend was either captured or dead. The guards moved forward, weapons raised. Elena backed up, her mind racing through options. She could fight, but under compression. She'd lose. She could run, but where? Then she remembered Chun's words. The band isn't the chain, it's a forge. Elena's hand moved to her shoulder, to the gravity band that had defined her existence for 5 years' time, to find out what she was really made of. Elena didn't give them time to react. Her fingers found the release sequence on her gravity band and punched it in. 3-7-9-Alpha-Delta override. Man's magnetic locks disengaged with a hiss. The device fell from her shoulder and clattered to the cell floor. And suddenly, for the first time in 5 years, Elena Vross felt light. The transformation was immediate and total. 3 times Earth's gravity vanished in an instant. And her body, conditioned and trained under that crushing weight, suddenly weighed only 1/3 of what it should to the Kashari guards. Evolved on a world with 0.4 Earth gravity. What happened next looked like magic. Elena moved, not fast by human standards, just normal speed, but to aliens who'd only seen her lumber under compression, it might as well have been teleportation. She crossed the cell in a single bound. Her fist caught the first guard in the chest before he could raise his weapon. The impact sent him flying backward into the corridor wall, hard enough to crack the composite material. The second guard fired. An energy bolt sizzled past Elena's head as she twisted, her body responding with the precision of a dancer instead of the deliberate slowness she'd been forced to adopt. Her hand closed around the barrel of his weapon. From the guard's perspective, she'd simply appeared there. She yanked it away and struck him across the head with it. Not hard enough to kill, just to stun. The third and fourth guards backed up, weapons raised. But Elena saw the fear in their eyes. They'd lived their entire lives on light-gravity worlds, watching humans move like deep-sea creatures. And now they understood the truth. Commander Seacall's feathers flared in alarm. Stand down, Captain. That's an order. I can't do that, Commander, Elena said. Her voice was different now, not strained by the effort of breathing under compression. In 4 hours, the main summit hall is going to collapse. Everyone inside will die, and humanity will be blamed for it. You're under arrest for. Elena didn't wait. She ran, and the corridor blurred around her. Her boots rang against the deck plating, and each footfall left cracks in the composite designed for species a fraction of her weight behind her. Alarms began wailing throughout Harmony's Reach. Lockdown protocols activated. Blast doors starting to descend, but Elena was faster than the automated systems. Expected, she rounded a corner and nearly collided with a group of Volan delegates. Their crystalline bodies chimed in surprise as she vaulted over them. using a wall panel to launch herself across the intersection. Security breach, Section 7. Voices echoed through the station. Human subject is extremely dangerous. Use lethal force if necessary. Lethal force. They'd made that decision fast. Elena thought grimly, but then, humans were always the acceptable target. The species everyone feared enough to restrict, she accessed the data terminal. Fingers flying across the interface. Kilmora's location showed as detention block BT, alive. At least, but surrounded by guards, Elena needed a plan. She couldn't fight the entire station's security force, even uncompressed, and she had to find the device before it detonated. The station's schematics appeared on her screen. Sublevel foundation. Beneath the main summit hall. That's where the encrypted message had indicated, but it was 20 levels down. Through multiple security checkpoints, Captain Voss, Commander Esaka's voice crackled through the station's intercom. Surrender now. You cannot escape. We have armed every security team, and they have orders to shoot on sight. Elena killed the terminal and kept moving. She descended through maintenance shafts, using service corridors that most species couldn't access. They were too narrow, too steep. Designed for maintenance drones and the occasional engineer, her body protested, even uncompressed. She'd been awake for 26 hours straight, fighting and investigating, but Earth had trained her for this too. Endless endurance trials under 5 times gravity, until her muscles learned to never quit. She emerged on sublevel 12, halfway to her target, but a security team was waiting. 8 Threem warriors in combat armor, their weapons trained on the access hatch. The human emerges. Their leader clicked. Ambassador Yester said you'd come this way. Predictable. Like all primitives, Elena assessed the situation. The corridor was narrow, limiting their numbers advantage. Their weapons were energy-based, designed for precision against light-bodied species, not for stopping something as dense as a human. Stand down, Elena said. I'm not your enemy. Zexstar is using you. He's going to kill hundreds of delegates and blame humanity. More lies, the leader said. The Unshackled will free us from human aggression, beginning with your death. They opened fire. Energy bolts filled the corridor with light and heat, but Elena was already moving, using the service hatch frame as cover. Before rolling forward under their line of fire, her shoulder struck the first Threem in his armored midsection. The impact would have broken Elena's bones under compression, but now it felt like hitting a cardboard cutout. The Threem flew backward, his chitinous armor cracking. The second and third came at her together. She caught one's weapon arm and used his momentum to throw him into his companion. Both went down in a tangle of limbs and armor. The others tried to adjust their aim, but Elena was inside their firing arc. She struck, disarmed, disabled, not killing. Even now, just removing them from the fight as efficiently as possible. 30 seconds later, 8 Threem warriors lay groaning on the deck. Their armor dented and their weapons scattered. Elena took their communicator. This is Captain Voss. If anyone's listening, there's a device in sublevel foundation set to detonate in less than 4 hours. Evacuate the summit hall immediately. Static answered her. They jammed her signal, or simply refused to believe. She kept descending. Sublevel 15. 18, 20 each level brought more security teams. More desperate attempts to stop. Hira Kashari flight unit tried to drop nets from above. Elena tore through them like paper and brought down 2 of the flyers with thrown debris. A salvage squad tried to use water cannons to knock her down. The pressure would have disabled most species. Elena walked through it like she was strolling through rain, and all the while, the clock was ticking. 3 hours, 2.5, 2 hours until detonation. She reached sublevel foundation, a massive open space filled with support pillars and engineering equipment. And there, in the center, surrounded by more Threem commandos, sat the device. It looked like a crystal sphere, shot through with metallic veins. Vorn technology. Elena recognized gravity manipulation. The same science they used for propulsion, but weaponized. Impressive. A voice said. Ambassador ZX Thar emerged from behind a support pillar. You made it further than I expected. But this is where your rampage ends. 15. Three commandos formed a perimeter around the device. Elite warriors. Bigger and better armed than the security team she'd fought through. It doesn't have to be this way, Elena said. ZX Thar. Whatever grievance you have with humanity, this isn't the answer. You'll kill thousands. Thousands who would see humanity enslaved. Zextar's mandibles clacked furiously. You don't understand. The Unshackled isn't about hatred. It's about survival. Your species is too strong, too aggressive, too dangerous. Within a century, you'll dominate the Union. Within 2, you'll rule it. And species like mine will be footnotes in your history. So your solution is genocide? My solution is prevention, ZX Star said. The device will collapse this station, and every investigation will point to human sabotage. We've planted evidence. Bought witnesses, forged communication logs. Earth will be expelled from the Union, possibly invaded, and my species, along with the Vorn and the Kashari splinter groups, will finally be safe. Elena looked at the commandos. They were trained, ready, and they had the high ground under compression. She'd have had no chance, but she wasn't under compression anymore. You're afraid, Elena said. I get it. We're different. We're new. We're strong. But that doesn't make us monsters. We came to the Union asking for peace. And you've made us carry our strength like a burden for 50 years. We've accepted that. Adapted to it. All to prove we could cooperate. Empty words. ZS Thar hissed. Commandos kill her. 15 weapons rose. Energy cannons capable of punching through starship hulls. All pointed at Elena. She thought of Earth, of the crushing gravity that had forged humanity into what they were, of the endless training under compression that had taught her to function under impossible weight, of Chun's words about the band being a forge, not a chain. You wanted to see what humans are really capable of? Elena said quietly. You kept us bound, restricted, compressed, also you could sleep at night. But you should have asked yourselves one question. The commandos fired, and Elena moved. What happens when we stop holding back? The energy bolts tore through the space where she'd been standing, but Elena was already airborne, having launched herself from the deck with force that cracked the composite plating. She hit the first commando before he could track her movement. His armor crumpled under the impact. She used his body as a springboard, twisting in midair to strike the second. Her fist caught his weapon, and the metal bent like clay. She ripped it from his grip and threw it at a third commando. The projectile moving fast enough to punch through his armor. The others tried to form a defensive line, but Elena was everywhere at once, or seemed to be. She was just moving at normal human speed. Elena's muscles strained as she applied pressure to the deactivation plate. 2,000 kilograms spread across her palms, distributed evenly through arms that had been forged under 5 times Earth's gravity. The device hummed louder. Internal sensors, detecting the pressure, calculating whether it met the precise requirements. Too much force in one spot, and it would register as an attack, detonating immediately. Too little and the mechanism wouldn't. Engaged sweat ran down Elena's face. This wasn't about raw strength. It was about control. Every muscle fiber coordinating. Every tendon balanced. She'd trained for this her entire career. Just not knowing it would matter like this. It won't work, ZX Star said behind her. You're strong, yes, but precision? Under stress? Impossible. The plate clicked once. TWICE then began to descend into the device. Elena held her pressure perfectly steady, her breathing controlled, her heartbeat measured. She remembered training sessions where instructors would pile weight onto her back while she held positions for hours. Remembered the agony of 5G compression pressing down on her while she had to thread a needle or defuse at practice. Explosive, this was just another test, except this time failure meant real death for thousands. The countdown on the device showed 47 minutes. The plate descended centimeter by centimeter. Elena's arms trembled with effort. But she kept the pressure even 1 millimeter off center, and it would fail. Fascinating, a new voice said. Elena didn't dare turn her head, but she recognized the crystalline chime of a Vorn speaker. A human actually managing our deactivation protocol. Director Kavis, Zexstar said. I didn't expect you personally. I came when I heard the alarms, Kavis said. And when I saw security footage of this human tearing through our defenses, I had to see for myself. Elena focused on the plate. 20% depressed. She estimated she needed 80% more. The human is attempting to disarm your device. Zexstar explained. But she failed. No one has the strength and control. You designed the deactivation protocol to be impossible, Kavis interrupted. Specifically to ensure the device couldn't be stopped once armed. But you didn't account for humans, did you? No species should be able to, because you tested it on Union species. Kavis said, species from light gravity worlds. I'm curious to see if she succeeds. 40% depression. Elena's vision started to blur at the edges. Her body was screaming for oxygen, for rest. But she couldn't ease up even slightly. Why aren't you stopping her? Zexstar demanded. You're part of the Unshackled. I was curious about your ideology, Kavis admitted. The idea that humans represent an existential threat. But watching this human dismantle 15 commandos without killing any of them. And now watching her save thousands of lives, including those who want her dead. The Vorn paused. I think perhaps we've been asking the wrong questions about humanity. 60% depression. The mechanism was fighting her now. Internal safeties, trying to prevent what they interpreted as a forced deactivation. LA adjusted her pressure, minute shifts in angle, fractional changes in force distribution. It was like trying to balance on a knife edge while lifting a shuttle. She's going to do it, Kavis observed. She's actually going to do it. Zexstar made a desperate move toward the device. Elena couldn't spare a hand to stop him, but Kavis extended a crystalline limb. Blocking the ambassador, don't. Kavis said simply, I want to see how this ends. 80%. Elena's arms were on fire. Muscles tearing microscopically under the sustained load. But she was almost there. The countdown showed 19 minutes, 90%. The plate was nearly fully depressed. Elena could see the deactivation mechanism beginning to engage. Magnetic fields shifting inside the sphere. Just a little more, she whispered. Come on, 95%. And then her left arm spasmed, a muscle cramp from the sustained effort. Her pressure shifted 2 millimeters to the right. Alarm shrieked from the device. Red lights flooded the chamber. The countdown suddenly accelerated 50 in minutes to detonation. No. Elena slammed her pressure back to center. But the damage was done. The device had interpreted her slip as a forced deactivation attempt and engaged emergency protocols. It's over, Zexstar said. In 15 minutes. This station and everyone on it. Elena didn't let him finish. She pressed harder, pushing the plate that final 5% with everything she had. The mechanism clicked engaged, and suddenly the pressure required doubled. 4,000 kilograms, 8,000 pounds. Focused through her arms into a plate the size of her palms, it should have been impossible, even for a human. Even uncompressed, that much force concentrated through human bone and muscle. But Elena had trained under 5G compression for years. Her bones had been stressed and strengthened. Her muscles had adapted to carrying 500 pounds of her own weight every moment of every day. She gritted her teeth and pushed. Plate descended millimeter by millimeter. The device's countdown paused at 14 minutes. 32 seconds, locked there while the deactivation protocol fought against the emergency protocols. Elena's world narrowed to just the pressure. The plate, the mechanism, everything else faded. The pain in her arms, the sweat in her eyes, the voices around her. She thought of Earth, of that crushing gravity well that had shaped every human who ever lived, of the way it pressed down on infants learning to walk, children learning to run, athletes learning to fly. Every human carried Earth's weight. They just didn't think about it consciously. It was in their bones, their blood, their basic biology. And now Elena called on all of it. The plate clicked home. Fully depressed, 100%. The device hummed once. A rising tone like a question. Then the countdown. Froze DEACTIVATIO in sequence INITD. The sphere's internal lights shifted from red to amber to green. The gravity field collapsed. The magnetic containment disengaged. And the device powered down. Elena held her pressure for another 10 seconds, making sure it was truly deactivated. Then, carefully released and staggered backward. Her arms hung useless at her sides. She'd torn muscles, maybe cracked bones, but the device was dead. Remarkable, Kavis said quietly. Truly remarkable. Zextherd stood frozen, his compound eyes reflecting the green lights. It was supposed to be unstoppable. It was, Kavis said, by Union standards, but standards change when new species join. That's the point of a union. Ambassador, we adapt, we grow, we learn. Commander Shkall's voice crackled through the communicators. Director Kavis, what's your status? We're showing device deactivation. Confirmed, Kavis replied. The human Captain Ross has successfully disarmed the weapon. Ambassador ZXthar and his co-conspirators should be taken into custody immediately. Footsteps echoed through the sublevel security teams pouring in. Weapons drawn, but they stopped when they saw the scene. Elena standing over the deactivated device. 15 unconscious commandos scattered around her. Zexthar looking defeated. Captain Ross, Commander Shkall said as she arrived. Her blue feathers were ruffled with stress. She paused. I owe you an apology. Elena tried to respond, but exhaustion hit her like a physical blow. She'd been running on adrenaline for hours, fighting through the station, and then that final effort with the device. Her legs gave out. She went to one knee, then both. The deck felt surprisingly solid and cool. Medical team. Shkall ordered, get her to the infirmary, and someone find it salvage. Kilmora, release her from detention. Commander, Elena managed. There are others, born conspirators. Cachery splinter groups. The Unshackled is bigger than just CXDRA. We'll find them. Shkall promised. Thanks to you, we have time. The summit is still intact. The delegates are safe. They saw everything, didn't they? Elena asked, security footage of me fighting through the station. Shkall hesitated. Yes, it's being broadcast to the main hall even now. The delegates requested it. They wanted to see the monster. Elena finished bitterly. The human without her chains. They wanted to see the truth. Kavis corrected. The Vorn had been silent for several minutes, observing, and the truth is complicated. Captain, medical personnel arrived with a hover stretcher. Elena tried to wave them off, but her arms wouldn't respond. Torn muscles. Definitely, possibly nerve damage from the sustained pressure as they loaded her onto the stretcher. Zexthar spoke one last time. You've doomed your species, human. They saw your strength today. Now they'll fear you even more. Or, Kavis said softly, they'll finally understand what it means that humans have been holding back this entire time. That every human in the Union has been carrying artificial weight for 50 years, has been compressed, restricted, slowed down, all to make us comfortable. The medical team started moving Elena toward the exit. She caught glimpses of the commandos she'd fought being treated for their injuries, none dead. She noted with relief she'd managed to stop them without killing as they entered the lift to return to the main levels. Commander Shkal walked beside the stretcher. "I should have listened to you," the Kashari said, "when you reported the suspicious activity. When you brought evidence, I dismissed you because I'm human." Elena said, "Because we're new, we're different. And everyone expects us to be paranoid or aggressive." "Yes," Shkal admitted, "and I was wrong. You saved thousands of lives today." "Captain, not just human lives, all of us." The lift doors opened onto the main leve. Elena woke to soft blue lighting and the gentle hum of medical equipment. Her arms were wrapped in regeneration fields, the tissue slowly knitting back together after the damage she'd done pushing against the deactivation plate. A chronometer on the wall showed she'd been unconscious for 14 hours. Outside the window, Harmony's Reach continued its slow spin. The pale moon visible in the distance. "You're awake," Kilmora said from a chair beside the bed. Her tentacles were wrapped around what looked like a human-style cup of coffee. "I've been here since they brought you in. The doctor said you'd be okay. But I wanted to make sure." Elena tried to sit up, her arms protested. "But the pain was manageable. What happened while I was out?" "Everything," Kilmora said. "The unshackled conspiracy collapsed. They arrested 17 more members across 4 species. Director Kavis testified against them. Provided evidence. Turns out he was never really one of them, just investigating." "And ZXTHAR?" "In custody, facing charges of terrorism, conspiracy to commit genocide, and about 40 other violations of Union law. His entire delegation was deported back to the Threne. Homeworld, there's talk of sanctions." Elena absorbed that. "And the summit?" Kilmora's tentacles waved, and what Elena had learned was excitement. "That's the interesting part. After you disarmed the device, the delegates demanded an emergency session. They've been debating for 12 hours, straight about humanity's status in the Union." Cold feelings settled in Elena's stomach. "Let me guess. More restrictions? More gravity bands? Maybe exile?" "Actually," a new voice said. Commander Shkal entered the infirmary. Her blue feathers immaculate. "The opposite." Elena stared at her. "I don't understand." Shkal pulled up a chair. "Captain, what you did yesterday changed everything. Not just because you saved lives, but because you showed the Union something we've been deliberately avoiding seeing." "What's that?" "That we've been afraid of the wrong thing," Shkal said. "We feared human strength, human speed, human endurance, so we made you wear the bands. Made you slow down, made you compress yourselves into something we could cope with. But what we should have feared was our own prejudice." Kilmora leaned forward. "Elena, the security footage from your fight through the station. It's been analyzed by every military expert in the Union. Do you know what they concluded?" "That I'm dangerous?" "That you were holding back," Shkal said. "Even without your gravity band. Even fighting for your life and the lives of thousands. You never once used lethal force. You disarmed, disabled, neutralized, but you didn't kill." "Of course not," Elena said. "They were just following orders. Caught up in someone else's ideology." "Exactly," Shkal interrupted. "And that restraint, that choice to be merciful even when unrestricted, that's what the delegates are discussing. Because it changes everything about how we understand humanity." Alama's head was spinning. "I don't. Let me show you." Shal activated a holographic display. News feeds from across the Union played simultaneously, headlines in dozens of languages, all saying variations of the same thing. "Human hero saves Harmony's Reach captain. Vross disarms terrorist device. Unshackled conspiracy. Revealed humanity's true strength. Restraint. Not aggression, it's everywhere," Kilmora said. Every Union world is talking about it. About you. One feed showed an interview with a Vorn philosopher. For 50 years. We made humans carry our fear on their shoulders. Literally. And they did so without complaint. Trying to prove they could cooperate. What does that say about them? And what does it say about us? Another showed a Kashari military analyst. I've reviewed the footage 17 times. Captain Vross fought through 15 security teams and disabled 43 combatants, with 0 fatalities at any point. She could have started killing, but she chose not to. That's not the behavior of an aggressive species. Shkal paused the feeds. The emergency session is happening now. They're voting on a new resolution regarding humanity's status. I thought you should be there. I can barely move my arms. The doctors cleared you for a light activity, Shkal said. And Elena, they're asking for you specifically. They want to hear from you. 20 minutes later, Elena stood outside the main summit hall. She'd been given a fresh uniform. Her arms still wrapped but functional, and notably, no gravity band. The absence felt strange, like missing a tooth. A void where weight should be. She'd worn compression for so long that normal gravity almost felt wrong. Are you ready? Kilmora asked. The Salvish had insisted on accompanying her. I don't know what to say. Elena admitted, I'm not a diplomat. You're a human who just saved them all. Kilmora said, That's enough. The doors opened, and Elena stepped into chaos. The summit hall was packed, every seat filled with delegates. And more standing along the walls, species from across the Union, all talking, debating. Some arguing. The noise was overwhelming. Then someone noticed her. A Salvish delegate pointed, and suddenly the hall went silent. Every eye, compound, crystalline, or otherwise, turned to look at Elena Vrosh, walked to the center of the chamber, each step echoing in the sudden quiet. Without compression, she moved smoothly, naturally, and she could see some delegates flinching slightly. President Ixtara of the 3 delegation spoke first. She'd been appointed after ZX-Star's arrest. Captain Vross, the Union owes you a debt we cannot repay. You saved thousands of lives, exposed a conspiracy, and did so while showing remarkable restraint. Elena nodded. I did my duty, Madam President. More than duty, a Tashari delegate said. You exceeded every expectation, and you forced us to confront uncomfortable truths about how we've treated humanity. Aha? Vorn Elder stood, his crystalline form chimed softly. For 50 years, we required humans to wear gravity bands in Union spaces. We told ourselves it was for your protection, to help you adapt to our environments. But the truth is, we did it because you frightened us. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. We saw your homeworld's crushing gravity and imagined warriors, the Vorn continued. We saw your dense musculature and imagined aggression. We saw your endurance and imagined conquest. So we made you carry extra weight, made you move slowly, made you less than what you are. And you accepted it, Ixtara added. Every human who joined the Union, every diplomat, every soldier, every scientist, you all wore the bands without complaint, trying to prove you could cooperate, could coexist, even when it hurt, even when it was unfair. Elena found her voice. We wanted to belong. Earth spent centuries isolated, fighting ourselves. When we met the Union, when we saw what cooperation between species could achieve, we wanted that. And if wearing the bands was the price, we paid it. But you shouldn't have had to, Commander Shkal said from her seat. We should have trusted you instead. We let fear guide our policies. A Salvish elder spoke. The question before us now is simple. Do we continue those policies? Or do we change them? Do we keep requiring humans to compress themselves for our comfort? Or do we adapt to their reality? Some of my constituents are terrified, a Kashari delegate admitted. They watched the security footage of Captain Vross moving at what is, for her, normal speed, and to us. It looks superhuman. They're afraid of what it means if all humans move that way. Then they should remember one thing, Elena said. She stepped forward, and several delegates unconsciously leaned back. I could have killed 43 combatants, 15 security teams. And I never took a single life. That's not because I'm weak. It's because I'm human. Silence. Every species in this union evolved on lighter gravity worlds. Elena continued. You grew up with open skies and easy movement. Humans grew up fighting gravity every day of our lives. It made us strong, yes, but it also made us careful. She held up her bandaged arms. You learn to control your strength when breaking things has consequences. You learn restraint when every movement matters. Earth's gravity didn't just give us muscle. It gave us precision, discipline, awareness of our own power. Beautiful words, a skeptical Threen delegate said. But words are easy. How can we trust that all humans share your restraint? Elena smiled slightly. Because we've already proven it for 50 years. Billions of humans have lived and worked throughout the Union. How many incidents of human violence have been recorded? Kilmore's tentacles moved across a datapad. According to Union security records, 417 incidents in 50 years out of a human population of 8 billion in Union space. 417, Elena repeated. Compare that to any other species. We're not perfect, but we're not the monsters you imagined. We're just people. People who've been carrying extra weight on our shoulders. Literally and figuratively, trying to prove we belong. The hall erupted in debate. Some delegates arguing for maintaining the restrictions. Others calling for their removal. Voices overlapping in multiple languages until President Ixtara called for order. We will vote. Ixtara declared, Resolution 228747. The mandatory requirement for human personnel to wear gravity compression bands in Union spaces shall be abolished. Gravity bands will become voluntary equipment, available to any human who requests one. All other restrictions on human movement and activity in Union spaces shall be reviewed and revised within 6 months. Second, Commander Shkall said immediately. All in favor? Ixtara called. Hands, tentacles, wings, and crystalline limbs rose throughout the